Hey, this is Grandmaster Ken. I present to you the top 5 best Zuko moments in Book 3, Fire. Number 5, The Beach. Now, despite the episode The Beach being a very non-traditional episode of Avatar, I believe it contains some of the best moments in the series. For example, seeing Zuko on a relaxed, calm beach with his crazy sister, hyperactive Ty Lee, and cranky Mai led to a better understanding of who Zuko is at this point in the series. He is edgy as hell, desperately trying and failing to keep his cool in a normal teenage situation. He has hilarious moments with Mai as he tries to please her with a seashell and ice cream, but comically fails and gets the cold shoulder. Also, there's a little fan service moment when Zuko takes his shirt off, which is incredibly provocative and over the top, kind of like a representation of his fan base. There's also a really cool moment where the gang plays volleyball against some of the other Fire Nation kids, and of course, because they're led by Azula, they go way over the top and they do like, the normal crazy anime volleyball stuff. And, it's really telling they don't hurt anyone. Then a few popular guys notice Mai and Ty Lee playing and invite them to the party they're having. Of course, they also have to invite Zuko and Azula, which they're not too fond of for obvious reasons. I mean, they're both kind of antisocial because of the insane way they were raised. Azula comes up with a plot once she realizes the popular guys don't know who she and Zuko are, to see how it feels to be a normal teenager. Which is awesome since earlier Zuko almost beat those guys up for their disrespect. Later at the party, Zuko and Mai have more relationship issues because Zuko is just incredibly uptight and defensive over her. He thinks she likes all the other guys in there, even though the only reason they're even talking about them is because he asked her what she thought of them. He then goes to get Mai some food and bumps into this guy and spills it all, and then he has the audacity to yell at him and be like, "Hey, watch it! That food was for my cranky girlfriend." Zuko then notices the guy from earlier talking to Mai, which pisses him off. He throws the guy away from her in this little spin animation that's really, really funny. And then the guy was all chill out, and Zuko's skinny ass literally hulks out and shoves the dude 10 feet across the room, which of course gets him scolded by Mai and everyone at the party. And then they have a little brief argument about how Zuko is too over the top, which he is, and how Mai is too seclusive, which she is. And then Zuko gets kicked out, which is pretty funny. And this is where we get into the meat of my point. Zuko, alone and angry, goes to his family's old beach house on Ember Island. The door is locked, so he just casually kicks it down, and we're treated to more flashbacks of the royal family's past. We see that a long time ago, the family did have fun there. We see Zuko and Azula running over little hills. We see Iroh and Zuko and what I assume to be Luten, Iroh's son, at the beach when he was a toddler. A picture of Zuko, Azula, Ozai, and Ursa is on the back wall. The family looks formal and impersonal, but in the picture, they look more functional and family-like than usual. We really get a sense of how much pain and confusion Zuko and his family suffered over the years. And it is reflected on Zuko's face as he picks up an old clay tablet of his handprint taken by his mother when he was little. We know that at this point in the show, Zuko has made many difficult decisions and he's forced to weigh in on them. After some more brooding, Azula collects Zuko, and she can sense how he's feeling. And this is one of the more tender moments that Azula has towards her brother in the series. She even says that the place is depressing, and she leads him away from it. When they get back to the beach, Zuko tries to make peace with Mai, but she's still angry with him. The group then has a really genuine heart-to-heart about their past, their issues, and how it's made them who they are. Zuko's is especially interesting as it burns hotter and deeper than those around him. Like Ty Lee makes this comment about how The negative energy will make them break out, and Zuko has none of it, exclaiming he doesn't have to worry about that because his father decided to teach him a permanent lesson on his face. He talks about how technically he has everything that he's ever wanted. His throne, his father's approval, his honor, but how he doesn't feel happy. In fact, he's angrier than he's ever been. And this episode has been a reflection of all his inner turmoil. When the girls ask him who he's angry at, he struggles to answer. He's not angry at his father. He's not angry at his sister or his uncle. Finally, he exclaims that he's angry at himself. Zuko has lost his way and doesn't know who he is. I believe this is one of the best Zuko moments because it's the moment where he realizes that he's made the wrong choice. That everything that he thought would make him happy fails to do so. The first instance where Zuko realizes that he has to change his outlook on life to really regain his honor. Number 4, the War Council meeting. The entire reason Zuko was banished and burned by his father in the first place was because he spoke out against an inhumane plan at a war meeting years ago. Now that Zuko has returned to the Fire Nation after 3 years of banishment, there's another important war meeting coming up. However, Zuko receives no invitation and is bitter and angry about seemingly being excluded. May tries to convince him it's not a big deal, and Azula tells him he probably wasn't invited because it's obvious that he's supposed to be there. Still, this weighs heavily on Zuko's psyche as he decides what to do about the situation. Right before the meeting starts, Zuko is summoned by one of his servants. He is informed that his father would not start the meeting without Zuko. At the meeting, Ozai displays uncharacteristic respect for Zuko, seating him at his right side and trusting him to answer important questions. Ozai, however, is under the belief, a lie by Azula, that Zuko killed the Avatar in Ba Sing Se, and that he has grown into exactly what he always wanted out of his son. When the meeting gets to the topic of what to do about Earth Kingdom rebellions, Ozai asks Zuko's perspective as he spent much time among the people of the Earth Kingdom. Zuko speaks highly of them, stating that the people of the Earth Kingdom can endure anything so long as they have hope. Ozai ruminates to himself about destroying their hope. And Azula chimes in stating that to destroy their hope, they should harness the energy of Sozin's comet to completely annihilate the Earth Kingdom. Everyone in the room cheers and believes Azula's plan to be genius, all except for Zuko. Zuko is the only one to realize that the genocide of the Earth Kingdom is morally disastrous, but he stays quiet, too afraid to speak up this time. This moment was not only a vital character moment for Zuko, but key to Zuko waking up and realizing that a life under Ozai's Fire Nation is corrupt and evil. Number 3, confronting Ozai. After the previous points I've made, we can see that Zuko has seen that his father, his sister, and the Fire Nation as a whole is irredeemable as it currently is. So during the Day of Black Sun, a solar eclipse that causes firebenders to lose their bending for a limited time, Zuko decides that he will leave the Fire Nation behind. But before he leaves, Zuko confronts Ozai in his secret underground bunker. Ozai is at first surprised to see Zuko down there, but when he sees the broadswords and Zuko speaks up, he changes his tone.
Think again.
Zuko goes all in on Ozai, telling him that he won't be taking orders from him anymore, telling him that it was wrong for him to challenge a 13-year-old boy to an Agni Kai, burning him and banishing him for years. Of course, Ozai refuses to take responsibility for his actions, but surprisingly, Zuko tells him that it was the best thing that he could have possibly done. Over the years, Zuko witnessed the oppression and bloodshed his nation caused around the world. He realizes that the Fire Nation schools spread lies and propaganda. The people in the world do not see the greatness and superiority of But surprisingly, Zuko tells him that it was the best thing that he could have possibly done. Over the years, Zuko witnessed the oppression and bloodshed his nation caused around the world. He realizes that the Fire Nation schools spread lies and propaganda. The people in the world do not see the greatness and superiority of the Fire Nation. They hate it. Zuko tells Ozai that Azula lied to him about having killed the Avatar, and how he's probably leading the attack against the Fire Nation. He then tells Ozai that he will join the Avatar and help him defeat him. Ozai is overwhelmed by anger and hatred at his son for his disrespect, but he cannot attack him as his bending is gone and Zuko is very proficient with his swords. Ozai uses the last card he has to manipulate Zuko into staying so he can kill him. He brings up his mother, who he knows Zuko loves dearly. Once Ozai has wasted enough time, the eclipse ends and he attacks Zuko with a huge volley of lightning. However, Zuko is able to redirect the lightning back at his father using the technique that Iroh taught him. Zuko escapes and Ozai is left disheveled in his chamber. This moment is so important to Zuko because he was able to put his family, his throne, and his nation on the line to do what he thought was right. He completely dismisses the life he thought he wanted to join his greatest enemy to stop the Fire Nation from destroying the world. Zuko has become the character we all knew he could be all along. Number 2. Learning the true meaning of firebending. All his life, Zuko had channeled his rage and hatred to firebend. This was a perverted form of firebending, likely perpetuated by the Fire Nation military and the royal family. So, with the task of teaching Aang firebending, Zuko has to discover the roots of firebending, as his own has grown weak without the same anger and hatred being present to fuel it. Traveling to the ancient ruins of the Sun Warriors with Aang, we get to see the chemistry between the two characters, who were previously bitter enemies. They work well together, but still get into a few jams along the way because Zuko is edgy and curious, and Aang is energetic and spontaneous. Once the thought to be extinct Sun Warriors show up, they explain to Zuko and Aang that fire is life and not just destruction. Later, Zuko and Aang are told to visit the masters Ren and Shaw atop 2 mountain peaks. Ren and Shaw turn out to be red and blue fire-breathing dragons that scare the daylights out of Zuko and Aang. However, instead of destroying them like the Sun Warriors expected, Ren and Shaw judged Zuko and Aang to be worthy despite their mistakes in the past, and they display a breathtaking display of firebending complete with color they never thought existed. After this experience, both Zuko and Aang are transformed as individuals, with Zuko declaring that with his new power and understanding of firebending, he can teach Aang firebending and redeem the Fire Nation. Before we go on to number 1, I'd like to list a few honorable mentions. Zuko is without a doubt one of the best, if not the best character in the Avatar series, so he understandably has many great moments. Number 5. Discovering the Avatar Roku is one of his forefathers. Number 4. Helping Sokka free Hakoda and Suki from the boiling rock. Number 3. Helping Katara find the man who killed her mother. Number 2. Zuko's Agni Kai with Azula and Zuko saving Katara from Azula's lightning. And number 1, Zuko and Iroh reconnect. Number 1, Zuko joins Team Avatar. So I know this might be a little cliche, but honestly, this is the most instrumental decision that Zuko ever makes. From episode 1, Zuko was hunting Team Avatar in an attempt to capture Aang and regain his honor. All his life, the Avatar was meant to be the sworn enemy of himself and the Fire Nation. In fact, Zuko was created in the first place because the writers realized that Ozai wouldn't be a realistic threat to Aang if he was always sitting on his throne in the Fire Nation. Thus, Zuko was created. Throughout the series, there are many hints that Zuko could and should join Team Avatar. In the Blue Spirit, Aang mentions that they could have been friends had they met 100 years ago. In the chase, Zuko temporarily allies with Team Avatar against Azula. And in the Crossroads of Destiny, Zuko had the choice to join the group, with Iroh influencing him to do the right thing and his connection with Katara in the Crystal Catacombs beneath Ba Sing Se. But the group does not make it easy for him when he approaches them out of the blue at the Western Air Temple. They are all tired and defeated from their failed invasion of the Fire Nation, having lost family and friends. Initially, they refuse to accept Zuko, threatening to attack him, even after Appa licks him, and he reminds Aang what he said in the Blue Spirit, and Toph advocates that he was sincere. It is only after Zuko risks his life to defend Team Avatar from combustion they see he really has changed. He explains to them that he wants to play his part in ending the war by teaching Aang firebending, and they finally agree to let him join the group. Except for Katara, who takes a lot more convincing. Later, we see a flashback of Zuko at the beginning of his banishment. We can see the contrast, how much she's changed from the bitter, angry, banished prince sent on the fool's errand of capturing the Avatar to the idealistic, calm young man with all his honor intact. Zuko finally realized that nobody could give him his honor, and this was his way of achieving it himself. And that's it, guys. The top 5 Zuko moments in Book 3 Fire. Please subscribe and like the video and comment if you have anything to say. Grandmaster Ken, out.